In a floating academy amidst a star-studded nebula, Mia, an Earth-born junkyard mechanic, faces an extinction-level crisis armed only with a mechanical pencil and raw human grit. When a 50-ton ultra-dense shard plummets, her strength defies the galaxy's finest tech. Will she triumph? Dive into her epic tale. And please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more captivating videos to inspire even more amazing content. Mia sat near the back of the Krel Vox Academy's lecture hall, a floating structure that drifted effortlessly in the heart of a star-studded nebula. The Academy was a marvel of alien engineering, a place where species from across the galaxy honed their intellectual and physical prowess. Holographic data streams and levitating terminals hummed around her, each an artifact of a civilization far beyond anything Earth had yet achieved. Yet Mia was unimpressed. Her focus wasn't on the iridescent tentacles of her fellow students, or the anti-gravity devices that hovered overhead. No, her attention was on one thing, her trusted mechanical pencil. A simple tool, nothing fancy, just the kind that could be found in any Earthling classroom. The pencil was well worn, its metal body a bit dented, but it served her far better than the quantum scribes many of her peers were fussing over. How many different ways can you write a note in zero gravity, she thought, twisting the pencil between her fingers. It was comforting, in a strange way. Earth-born simplicity, surrounded by the galaxy's finest tech. Professor Varn entered with dramatic flair. His multiple tentacles floated above the crowd, each one trailing shimmering threads of energy, pulsing in the rhythm of his voice. His deep, operatic tone filled the room as he introduced the day's topic, ultradense matter. What we have here, he boomed, holding an obsidian shard that could destroy an entire city block, is a fragment of the universe's most powerful material, held aloft by a shimmering anti-gravity field. Mia couldn't help but smirk. She'd seen bigger chunks of metal at the junkyard back home. Professor Varn's voice boomed as he continued his lecture, his tentacles floating gracefully in the air, weaving in time with his words. This, he announced, holding the obsidian shard aloft, is a fragment of ultra-dense matter. Its mass is a staggering 18.5 billion tons, enough to collapse a star or crush a city block with ease. The shard shimmered within its anti-gravity cage, a faint, eerie glow pulsating from its depths. The audience was rapt, awestruck by the gravity of the demonstration. Mia, however, couldn't help but roll her eyes. She'd spent the better part of her life working on broken engines in Earth's junkyards. 18.5 billion tons. Huh? That's cute. Try lifting a rusted transmission after a 3-day rainstorm, she mused sarcastically, idly twisting the mechanical pencil between her fingers. The technology surrounding her, anti-gravity fields, holographic displays, and quantum scribes, felt almost irrelevant. She was used to getting her hands dirty, to making things work with little more than grit and ingenuity. As Varn built up his dramatic speech about the infinite power of ultra-dense matter, disaster struck. One of his iridescent tentacles, seemingly caught in the thrill of his own rhetoric, brushed against the control console of the anti-gravity field. A faint crackling sound filled the room. For a split second, everything froze. Mia's eyes flicked up, just in time to see the shimmering field waver. The shard plummeted, tearing through the thin, levitating floor beneath it, as students screamed and scattered. The shard's descent was too fast, too imminent to stop. Panic erupted like a swarm of bees. Glim, a flickering orb of nervous energy, sputtered an alarm, and Zex, a multi-limbed insectoid, fumbled helplessly as the ground buckled beneath him. The room was in chaos, yet Mia, Earth's lone representative, didn't flinch. She stood, calm amidst the storm, her eyes locked on the descending shard. This wasn't her first time dealing with a disaster. Mia's eyes locked on the shard as it hurtled downward, its jagged edges glowing ominously in the chaotic light of the Academy's floating lecture hall. The panic in the room intensified, a symphony of shrieks and alien voices. But Mia was oddly calm. The shard, massive and scalding, would hit the ground in a matter of seconds. tearing through the floating floor and potentially all the way down to Earth's crust. It wasn't just a risk. It was an extinction-level event waiting to happen. Her fingers tightened around her mechanical pencil. She wasn't going to stand by and watch. Not today. With a grunt, Mia pushed herself off the ground and stepped forward, her boots thudding against the levitating platform. The room was in utter chaos, students darting for cover, while Professor Varn, paralyzed with panic, gaped at the shard as it continued its fall. Time slowed in Mia's mind. Every step felt like an eternity. Her training, her years of hauling engines and lifting rusted car parts in the junkyard, kicked in. She wasn't an alien super being, didn't have anti-gravity limbs or quantum enhancers. She just had raw, unfiltered human strength. The shard was now inches from the ground, a massive block of ultradense matter, still glowing with an internal heat of 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Impossible, she thought. But who cares? Her muscles screamed as she planted herself firmly in front of the shard. Sweat beaded on her brow, the room spinning with tension. With a primal grunt, she gripped the shard, its weight, a cosmic dare, and hauled it upward. The shard barely moved at first. It felt like trying to lift a mountain. But Mia's fingers dug in deeper, her legs locked in place, and with an earth-shattering roar, she managed to stop its descent. Her whole body shook with the effort, veins bulging as her breath came in ragged gasps. The room was dead silent. The aliens around her, whose species had never known physical labor or struggle, could only gape in stunned disbelief. Mia, however, stood there, still holding the shard inches from the ground, sweat dripping down her face. Not bad for a junkyard kid, she thought, letting out a strained but triumphant chuckle. The moment Mia halted the shard's descent, time seemed to stretch and then snap back. For a long second, there was nothing but stunned silence. The room, which had erupted into a cacophony of alien screams and scrambling footsteps moments earlier, now lay in hushed awe. Mia, sweat slick and panting, held the shard suspended inches from the floor. Her muscles screamed in protest, but she didn't budge. Not bad for a junkyard kid, she thought with a strained grin. Her chest heaving as she held onto the impossibly heavy fragment of ultra-dense matter. It took a beat longer than it should have for anyone to react. Then, in a sudden burst, the room exploded into applause. The alien students, their species never having experienced the raw, physical strain Mia had just endured, clapped in awe. Some were even cheering, though Mia could tell it was as much out of disbelief as admiration. Professor Varn, still hovering nervously near the platform, let out an operatic gasp, his tentacles flailing wildly in what seemed like a mixture of panic and pride. A terrestrial titan, Varn bellowed, his voice echoing through the hall. You, Mia of Earth, have defied the very fabric of the galaxy. You stopped the impossible. Mia, blinking away the sweat stinging her eyes, lowered the shard to the floor with a thud. Her legs were unsteady beneath her, but her eyes remained locked on the crowd. She wiped soot off her brow, unimpressed by the overblown praise. Yeah, whatever, she muttered under her breath. Just another Tuesday. But the galactic media didn't share her indifference. Within minutes, every corner of the galaxy knew about the earth-shattering feat performed by the lone human in the Academy. Headlines exploded across quantum news feeds. Human lifts galaxies via state object. Defies physics, offers flooded in from the Cosmic Powerlifting League. Their inboxes clamoring for Mia to appear in competitions. Despite her reluctance, the requests kept coming, until Varn, taking full advantage of her newfound fame, made his demand. Mia, he said, his tentacles swaying in excitement. I hereby request you teach Primal Force Amplification, a gym class designed for these. He gestured toward the alien students, soft-bodied beings who could use some earthly strength training. Mia didn't answer immediately. Instead, she glanced at her mechanical pencil, her one true companion. This is going to be interesting. Mia didn't expect much when Professor Varn approached her. She figured he'd throw a few more congratulatory words her way and maybe request an autograph for his alien overlords. What she didn't expect was this. "You've done the impossible, Mia. I hereby request you teach Primal Force Amplification, a course designed for my students who..." He hesitated, his tentacles wriggling uncertainly. "Need some muscle training." He waved vaguely toward the class, which was now returning to their seats. Many still wide-eyed from the earlier spectacle. They may not have the same physical limitations as your people, but they lack the one thing you have: strength. His eyes sparkled with a mix of awe and greed. "Your human strength. It must be taught." Mia raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. "I'm a junkyard mechanic, not a gym coach." She glanced at the remains of the levitating floor where the shard had crashed through, now a smoldering crater. The shard was a memory now, but the chaos of the moment was still fresh. Varn, utterly undeterred, continued, "You're the only one who has shown what real strength looks like. Your physical abilities defy our understanding. You'll teach them how to live without technology, how to train like your species does, Primal Force." He gestured toward the futuristic gym that seemed more like a hollowed-out asteroid, with machines that hummed with alien technology. "Let's see if your humans can actually be as strong as you claim." Mia was ready to shoot him down. After all, she didn't come all the way to an intergalactic academy to end up as a galactic personal trainer. But as her gaze fell on the students, alien bodies of all shapes, sizes, and forms, none of them with the muscle mass to match any human, let alone a mechanic from Earth, something in her shifted. She had never backed down from a challenge. Not once in her life. Not even when a 500-pound engine needed lifting without a crane. She looked up at Varn and saw only determination. "All right, fine. But I'm not going easy on them." "Perfect." Varn grinned, his tentacles curling in delight. "They'll learn quickly, or they won't last at all." The gym, a cavernous space of steel and glowing circuits, was a far cry from the sweaty, old-school setups Mia was used to. But she would make do. Earth had taught her to work with what you had. The high-tech alien gear here was just another challenge. The alien students, unsure of what they were about to face, watched with anticipation. Mia cracked her knuckles. Time to get to work. She approached the first set of equipment, which looked more like an obstacle course designed for a creature with more limbs than she could count. "This will be fun," she muttered to herself, already envisioning the sweat, the grunting, and, most likely, the ridiculous alien failures. The class was about to begin, and Mia would make sure it was as Earth-born as possible. Mia stood in the center of the gym, hands on her hips, surveying the aftermath of her first training session. Her alien students, still panting and confused, scattered across the vast training bay, nursing bruises from failed squats and push-ups. Glim, the flickering energy form, had short-circuited halfway through a push-up, sparks shooting out of its translucent body. Zex, the multi-limbed insectoid, had tangled itself in its own limbs during a squat, falling into a heap of squirming appendages. Mia wiped a bead of sweat from her brow, unimpressed but satisfied. She made them work, and they had a long way to go. "Keep it up, or we'll be here all day," she muttered, looking over her motley crew. The gym was a mess, glowing alien debris, half-melted weights, and tangled limbs. But Mia didn't care. This was Earth-style training, and Earth didn't do fancy. Just as she was about to call for a break, the doors to the training room slammed open. A group of towering figures stepped in, their silhouettes dark against the blinding light of the Academy's vast observation windows. The room fell silent. These weren't just any aliens. These were the Tribunal of Flex Masters, ancient beings who presided over strength contests across the galaxy. They were the arbiters of might, their very presence enough to make the most advanced species tremble. And now, they were here to see Mia's methods. The Flex Masters were a sight to behold. Massive, imposing figures who exuded an air of absolute authority. Some were humanoid, others were more monstrous, with limbs that twisted unnaturally or bodies that seemed to defy traditional physics. Their collective strength was legendary, and their bodies were enhanced by biotechnological implants that made them stronger than any natural creature, a perfect blend of science and brawn. Mia felt a familiar twinge of defiance, the same feeling she got whenever a mechanic told her she couldn't fix an engine. Without the right tools, "Let's see what you got," she muttered, cracking her knuckles. She could already feel their scrutiny like 1,000 eyes bearing down on her. The leader of the Flex Masters, a towering figure with 4 arms and glowing red eyes, stepped forward. His voice was deep and booming. "Mia of Earth," he began, "we have heard of your strength, but now we will see if your human methods are worthy of our time." Mia's eyes narrowed, her smirk returning. "Bring it on." The room was thick with tension. The aliens watched, waiting for the show to begin, as Mia stepped forward, ready to prove that Earth's raw strength was more than a match for even the most enhanced beings in the galaxy. The vast dome of the Universal Might Games gleamed under the artificial sun, its transparent walls offering a breathtaking view of distant galaxies and swirling nebulae. Spectators from across the universe packed the stands, their diverse forms and glowing eyes fixed on the arena below. The atmosphere was electric, alive with tension. The high-tech seating systems hummed as the crowd's anticipation grew. Mia stepped into the center of the arena, the roar of the crowd dimming as her boots hit the ground. She felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on her, the cold steel beneath her feet grounding her. The air smelled of ionized metal and the faint tang of ozone, the signature scent of high-tech combat zones. This was no junkyard, no worn engine or rusted transmission. The Universal Might Games was a place for the galaxy's greatest to prove their strength through technology, enhancement, and power. Mia, however, was the lone anomaly. No enhancements, no biomechanical upgrades, just raw, human strength. And, she thought, that's enough. Across from her stood her first opponent, a hulking creature named Zorth, an elite warrior from the Ilix galaxy. Standing at over 8 feet tall, Zorth was equipped with cybernetic limbs capable of exerting 50 times the strength of a normal human. His muscles, augmented with nanofiber tendons and enhanced bone structure, rippled with inhuman power. The crowd murmured in awe. Zorth's weight alone was around 900 kilograms, his enhancements adding an extra 300. This was a battle of raw mechanical power versus human grit. "This is your test, Earthling," Zorth's voice rumbled, his chest vibrating with the low frequency of his cybernetic modifications. "You will feel the might of the Ilix warriors." Mia glanced around the arena, seeing the watching eyes of millions of aliens. "Great, let's see what you've got, Zorth," she muttered under her breath. The first challenge was simple but brutal. The obsidian shard, again. This time, however, the shard was reinforced with a 50-ton weight, a test of sheer muscle and willpower. The goal was to lift it and hold it for as long as possible. Mia cracked her knuckles and stepped forward, ignoring the high-tech mechanical arms Zorth had at his disposal. She was ready to prove that human strength, unassisted, raw, was still the most formidable force in the galaxy. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The universe held its breath. The countdown was ticking down to 0, each second a heartbeat. The arena, a massive, open space, pulsed with energy, the roar of the crowd deafening in its anticipation. Mia could feel the pressure of thousands of eyes, alien eyes, locked on her. Across from her, Zorth, with his augmented limbs and cybernetic enhancements, stood as a behemoth, the very picture of galactic strength. His for mechanical arms, capable of generating over 2,500 pounds of force, flexed with mechanical precision, preparing for the challenge ahead. The shard in front of them was a symbol of cosmic power, a reinforced mass of obsidian, now weighing 50 tons, glimmering with a dangerous, smoldering heat of 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Mia stepped forward, the dust of the arena crunching beneath her boots. Feeling the weight of the moment, she wasn't just here for herself, she was here for humanity. The lone Earthling among supercharged aliens, a testament to human perseverance, muscle, and raw force. Her body, no enhancements, no tricks. Just the strength earned through years of lifting car engines and hauling scrap metal back on Earth. As the countdown hit 0, Mia didn't hesitate. She planted her feet firmly in the arena's hardened floor, her legs slightly bent, bracing herself for the impossible. The crowd fell into an eerie hush, all eyes fixed on the obsidian shard and the two competitors. Zorth was already in motion, his mechanical arms reaching out with effortless speed, the shard shifting slightly as his enhanced strength latched onto it. But Mia was undeterred. She grabbed the edge of the shard, her fingers digging into the scorched stone. The moment her hands made contact, a burst of heat seared her palms. But she gritted her teeth and pushed through the pain. Sweat beaded on her forehead, her breath coming in labored gasps. The weight was crushing, the 50-ton mass defying everything she knew. But Mia wasn't just trying to lift it. She was trying to prove a point. Her muscles trembled, veins popping as she yanked with all her might. The shard budged, not much, but enough. The crowd gasped in disbelief. With a primal grunt, Mia strained against the weight. Her entire body screamed in protest, her legs shaking with the effort, her arms aching as she fought against the sheer mass of the stone. But inch by inch, the shard rose, defying physics, defying expectation. Her strength wasn't just human, it was unbreakable. Zorth, now watching with growing awe, attempted to lift his side of the shard. But Mia's determination was fiercer than his mechanical enhancements. She wrenched it higher. Another inch. The shard inched upwards as the crowd's roar crescendoed into a frenzy. Mia's face twisted in concentration, her body a perfect blend of human will and raw power. She finally managed to raise the shard an entire foot, holding it aloft for a heartbeat. It was a victory of sheer spirit. When the weight finally came down with a thud, Mia dropped to her knees, breathless but triumphant. She had done the impossible. The crowd exploded in applause, the sound deafening. For a moment, Mia let herself bask in the glory. This was her moment, humanity's moment. The Universal Might Games had ended. But for Mia, the aftermath felt like a surreal dream. The arena was still reverberating with the roars of the crowd, a cacophony that seemed to echo across the stars. But as the dust settled and the lights dimmed, Mia found herself standing in a quiet, still moment, her breath heavy, sweat dripping down her face, her body aching from the strain of lifting a 50-ton shard against the impossible. The victory was hers, and with it, the recognition of a galaxy that had never known the true strength of Earth. Krel Vox Academy had never seen anything like it. The Flex Masters, once skeptical of her human methods, were now in awe, and her name had become synonymous with strength throughout the galaxy. But the moment of glory wasn't over. The Flex Masters themselves had demanded something extraordinary, an official enshrinement. Mia stood before a massive, gleaming plaque that had been affixed to the wall of the Academy's main hall. The plaque was made of an alloy that could withstand temperatures of over 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But it wasn't the material that caught Mia's attention. It was the inscription. The words glowed with a soft, pulsating light as though imbued with the weight of history itself. Mia of Earth, who shattered limits and taught stars to strain. A bolt of steel had been fastened to the wall beside it, a symbol of her achievement. An industrial-grade squat rack, complete with custom weights made from the same 50-ton obsidian shard that had once threatened to bring down the entire academy. The weight was immense, designed specifically for Mia's training, and the rack was a permanent fixture in the academy's gym. Mia couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and disbelief. She glanced down at the mechanical pencil still in her hand, a simple tool from her Earth junkyard, and a quiet smile tugged at her lips. All this from a rusty junkyard mechanic. She turned to face the group of alien students who had witnessed it all. Their admiration was evident, many of them now aspiring to match the human strength they had seen. Mia, with no enhancements, no technological boosts, had shown them what it truly meant to be strong. And as she looked around, she realized something that filled her with pride. Her strength wasn't just human, it was universal.